Tsuki is a category of strikes that occurs by pushing the arm forward. The effectiveness of these strikes is ensured by sufficient speed and force, but above all, by performing the strike in a perfectly straight line. The basic striking surface of Tsuki is the so-called seiken, the knuckles of the first and second finger. The starting position of the strike, the hikite, includes the fist on the side just above the pelvis with the palm upward. The elbow at the back is pulled to the axis of the body. When striking, the fist rotates the palm downward to the final position. The movement is supported by the rotation of the hips to ensure optimal power transmission. During the strike, it is necessary to pull the other hand along the same path back to the hikite to activate the other half of the body. There's a difference between straight strikes depending on the mutual position of the legs and arms. The oitsuki is a strike with the same hand as the foot that steps forward, whereas the gyakutsuki is a strike with the opposite hand than the foot that steps forward. Interestingly, a straight strike was such an effective technique in the history of karate that karate practitioners were able to knock an opponent out of the fight with just one punch. Tetsui uchi. Tetsui is a name for an effective striking area that hits an opponent. This is the flank of a clenched fist, the so-called hammer fist. Tetsui uchi can be performed by swinging horizontally away from the body, but also vertically toward the opponent's head. This back fist strike is characterized by its speed and swing. The movement is performed with the back of the clenched fist in an arc from the shoulder towards the opponent's head. With the right timing, this strike is difficult for an opponent to recognize and defend. Haito uchi is a ridge hand strike with the thumb edge of an outstretched hand. The elbow gradually straightens during the movement and is completely extended in the final phase. At the right distance, the strike allows you to reach beyond an opponent's block, which makes it very useful in certain tactical situations. Shuto uchi, the so-called knife hand strike, is performed with the edge of an open hand. It can cause a state of shock if the strike connects with the opponent's neck. Ideally, it is used at the end of a series or combination of strikes. The movement is identical to the block, which is called Shuto uke. Gamen Shuto uchi is a knife hand strike from the outside using the edge of the hand as an effective striking surface. The movement starts at head level with the thumb turned to the ear and the wrist and forearm rotate during the movement. Gamen Shuto uchi is a very destructive technique due to its high angular velocity, especially when the strike is directed to an opponent's temple region, neck, or throat. Nukite is a forward strike with the same principle as Tsuki. The main difference between the two lies in the strike area, which is made by the fingers during Nukite. When performing this strike, the karateka uses his hand as a spear and must have strong trained fingers to perform this strike. This is a very aggressive strike and is possible to use in soft parts of the body, especially as an attack on the throat, groin, or genitals. Uchi represents strokes performed by the elbow, one of the most destructive techniques in karate. The technique is generally used over a short distance, and depending on the nature of the movement, we can categorize the movement into several different types. Yoko uchi, a side elbow strike, is usually used on the belly or the ribs of an opponent. It is carried out in one of the lateral postures to obtain as much energy as possible to be transmitted to the blow. Mawashi uchi, a hook elbow strike forward, is performed with a larger area of the forearm. This elbow strike is very effective in hitting the chest or chin, or even the temple of the opponent because of its high angular speed. Age uchi is an upward elbow strike that can be used to attack, for example, the chin of the opponent. This unexpected blow is very hard to counter. Lastly, the ushiro uchi is directed at the opponent when they're standing behind you.